grab this paper. We're just going to talk about how to use it. I already wrote out all the notes on this one for you. It's just a handout so that you guys can have access and a reference shot, okay? So just this paper, it's a half paper. If you need one, it's up here. I'm going to talk you through how to use this. I'm looking for this. Okay. So let's start with something you know. When you're doing something difficult, always start with the easiest version that you know. What's 5 plus 2? How could you explain that to a little kid who's just learning addition? Exactly. 5 fingers and 2 more. On the number line, right? We're going to start at 5 and then we're going to add 2 more. So adding goes this way, subtraction goes that way. So it might help if you go plus goes this way and minus goes this way. You don't have to write that, but if it helps you, please do. Now what happens, so this is the easiest version. Now let's take it up a level. What if they're both negative? Where do we start on the number line? Yeah, we're going to start at -5. Sorry, I'm trying to move this up so that everything's in screen. We're going to start at -5, and then what direction are we going to go, left or right? How many? Where did we end up? Okay, what if it was this? What if it's -5 plus 3? Where do we start? And go 3. 1, 2, 3. Where do we end up? Good. What if it's the other direction? What if it's 5 take away 3? We start at 5 and then where do we go? How many? 1, 2, 3. Where did we end up? Okay, what I'm hoping that you'll get out of this. If you look here, notice those are both positive, they add. Those are both negative, they added. And it keeps the sign. So if they're positive, it stays positive. If they're negative, it stays negative. Now see how there's mixed signs, positive and negative? When they're different signs, you subtract. And then we just keep the sign with the bigger number. So since 5 is negative and it's bigger, it stays negative. Since 5 is bigger and it's positive, it stays positive. Everybody good with that? Now for multiplication, just take 2 numbers at a time. If they're the same sign, it's always going to be positive. So 2 positives is a positive, 2 negatives is a positive. If they're mixed signs, it's going to be negative. Now let's take a look and see if you can do it with 3 numbers. So what if I have -2, -3, -1? What's a negative make? Positive. So now what's 2 times 3? See how those are 2 different signs? -6. So you just do 2 at a time. You follow me? Okay. So if I had -1, 2, -3, is the answer going to be positive or negative? Who says positive? Who says negative? Who says they're not sure? Okay, what's a negative times a positive? -2. What's a negative times a negative? So it should be positive. You follow me? Okay, what you're going to do with this is in the very back cover. So see this, where all this stuff is? You're going to glue it on this page right here. You're going to glue it there so that if you're getting stuck, you can just flip to the back page and you have access to that. Today's assignment is 12 questions review. It's literally adding, subtracting for the first part, PEMDAS. You're probably not going to finish it all today, and that's okay. And we've got some notes to do. So this was just the handout. Go ahead and get that glued in. Anybody need glue? 3 have shown up on my desk. Can you catch? I only got 1 left, it's mine. I need 1 on my desk. If I throw it to you, will you bring it back to me? Will you bring it back to me? Okay, go ahead and glue that in. to the front cover. We're gonna, oh, sorry. Okay, your assignment from last time was on page 5, so we're gonna put a -5 because that's what that covers. Okay, you guys. So today we're gonna be on page. We're gonna be review. Okay, so review composition of functions, and it's going to be on page 6. How many of you are in construction science? How many of you are in welding? How many of you are in robotics? How many of you are in architecture? Okay, if I were to say a composite material, can you guys give me an example in real life of something that's a composite material?
I don't even know what a composite material is.
I'll give you a hint. There's an answer on here. What's a composite?
Plywood.
Plywood is a composite because it's made up of 2 distinct things. It has a thin layer of wood, thin layer of glue, wood, glue, and depending on the thickness is how many layers. How many of you are welders? Steel is a composite because it's made up of iron, and do you know the other element? Carbon. Iron and carbon is what makes up steel. And the carbon level determines the strength of the steel. Okay. Go ahead, and I'm just going to make sure we're on the same page, y'all. So we're going to go to page 6. Just a reminder, page 4 was your inverse functions composition. Page 5 was the assignment on that. And the back of that page, so on the back side of the assignment from last week, it's going to be page number 6. And that's where this notes is going to go right here. Go ahead and put your name in the top corner. Okay. So a composition of functions is simply combining 2 or more functions together. Thank you. Yes, COVID, we're all going to die. Where the output from one function becomes the input for the other. No, Daniel, I just forgot to take my allergy meds this morning. Okay. Guys, I'm trying to give you the notes mostly filled out, but I need you guys to stay engaged with me, okay? So that looks like watching what's going on the screen. It sounds like no side conversations, no side noises. It also looks like you guys paying attention, writing down the content, and you guys participating. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to identify which equation you're going to start with. Hint, it's always going to be your first letter. So in this case, we have G-O-H. What's my first letter? The G is the equation I'm going to start with. I'm going to write out that equation, leaving a big what? Gap, blank, space. I don't care what vocabulary you use, but there should be a big fat space. I want to make sure that we're connecting what's happening right here. We took this equation where that n was, and we're leaving a big space instead. Notice, are there any n's on this side of the equal sign? There shouldn't be any at this step. Okay, this is for every independent variable. Sometimes it's usually x, but a lot of times in real life you're going to use t for time. The variables get assigned usually based off of what they stand for. S for student, T for time, depending on the food, B for brisket, B for beef. Okay, so now we're going to take the other equation and put it in. So we're going to take this whole equation, the n minus 4, and we're going to put it right here. What's it called when I have a number in front of parentheses like that?
I don't know.
What do I do when I distribute? That would be a really good extra credit test question, hint, 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 to ask you what that's called.
Why?
Because I'd like you to actually, don't you like extra credit?
I don't know.
Okay, well, you don't have to answer it. What is 4 times n?
4n.
Thank you. What is 4 times negative 4? Negative 16. Do we have any like terms that can go together?
Yeah.
What can go together? What's it make? I like to put a little connector to remind me which things went together. Do I have any more like terms? No. I'm going to tell you right now the biggest mistake people make is they forget to write down the n. They'll say 4 times n is just 4, and they'll forget the n right there. And then they put it all together and get just a number with no letters left, no variables, and they can't figure out what they're going wrong. That is your whole answer. When you got that, go ahead and open to the inside. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you right now we're going to change this question and we're going to change the last question. So don't get too excited and go ahead. Okay, we're going to set this up. Ovid, what equation are we going to start with? F or G? F. Because it starts with F. So Daniel Reyes, can you help me set that up? Tell me what to write down with the big gap. Almost. What do I use instead of A? What do I leave? Daniel, go ahead and popcorn to anybody you want.
What is the 4a minus 2?
That's what we're going to plug in, but we don't want to plug it in until the next step. Go ahead and popcorn to anybody you want. Oh, Freddie, you're up then. Freddie, what do we do now? What are we going to put in the inside?
4 minus 2.
Almost.
4 negative 2.
What are we missing? What's missing? Anybody? A. Freddie, you want to popcorn to somebody, or do you guys want to do the popcorn, or do you just want me to pick? Alejandro, let's go. Tell me what to do. Distribute. Tell me what I got. Try again. 2 times 4. 8 is the right number. What else? 4 is almost right. Plus 3 is right. Anybody want to help us fix this? Anybody see what the problem is?
It's not A.
Pardon?
It's not A.
Okay, let's start with the 8. What needs to go with the 8?
A.
What else needs to go with it? Negative. What needs to go with the 4? What sign should be here? What's a negative times a negative? Okay, Alejandro, pick somebody. It don't matter? Okay. Then I'm going to pick Andre. No, you're not Andre. Acorian. Acorian, talk to me. What can go together? What are like terms? Hey, psst. Will you shut my door?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you got?
Maybe stone.
Hi, sweetie. What's it make? Thank you. Corian, you want to pick anybody? All right. Nicholas? Anything else go together? Why not? because that has the a and that has no variables. Okay, so this is as good as it gets. That is your answer. Scroll up. Okay, here's the deal. We're gonna do, instead of golf, we're gonna do fog. I want to do the hardest kind you're gonna see on your assignment because it's random. I don't know how hard some of them will be. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna start with which equation? Cassandra, which equation do I start with? F or G? F. Now I'm going to set this one up because you guys have not seen something like this before. The -3 is chilling. We're going to leave a big fat space, but don't forget that squared. That power of 2 really matters. -5 and then some parentheses. What we're going to do now, I want you to please notice no ends. No ends on this side yet. Okay, now let's break it down. We're going to put the other equation inside. So I'm going to take all of that, -2n minus 4, and I'm going to plug that in. And then I'm going to go over the most common mistakes that everybody makes. When you get to there, let me know. Okay. Let's break this down. If I have 3 squared, what is 3 squared?
9.
It is 9. How'd you figure it out?
Square.
3 times 3 is 9. If I have 3 cubed, what is it? 27. So it's 3 times 3 times 3. So this number is how many times I write it. So how many times would I write it now?
4.
What if I wrote 5 squared? How many times do I write it? 5 times 5. What if I wrote x to the 5th? How many times would I write out x? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So this is going to work all the directions. How many times do I need to write this group out? Okay, it's not my favorite, but I'm going to tell you right now, if you can master this today, if you can get this mastered in this class, you are going to be ahead of 90% of the calculus students in the district. This is the most common mistake I see when I'm helping calculus students in college and everywhere else. They struggle with this. Write it twice. Okay? Do you guys remember FOIL from Algebra 1? First 2. So this group needs to go to every other group. So I'm going to bring this -3 down. It's just going to be chilling on the outside. What is -2n times -2n? Positive 4n. I'm going to give you a hint. If I have n times n, how many times did I have to write it? N squared. Right there, that's what they forget, the squared on the n. This needs to go to the other group. What is -2n times -4? Positive 8n. Okay, so this 2n has gone with both of those. So now this 4 needs to go with both of them. -4 times -2n. What does that make? Okay, I see a couple kids squinting, so I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I'll try to make it a little bigger. Okay. -4 times -4 is? Perfect. Now don't forget, close the parenthesis because we still got to multiply this to it. Okay. Now let's go ahead and, what's it called again when I have a number in front multiplying through? Distribute. Let's practice that word. That's going to be a good test question. What is -5 times -2n? What's a negative times a negative? What's 10? 10 what? Good. What is negative 5 times negative 4?
Positive 20.
Really good job. Now you have 3 choices right here. Actually, you have 2 choices, and I'm going to show you the easiest one. The easiest way for me is to put everything I can together on the inside before I distribute, because I don't want to make these bigger numbers than I have to deal with yet. Okay? Do you need us back up? You good? Okay. Okay, guys, here's the deal. I expect you to be able to do any math in your head if the number, like you should be able to do all the multiplication if the numbers are smaller than 12. Does that make sense? I don't expect you to know 3 times 8 in your head. It's 48, but I don't expect you to know that. Does that make sense? I'm okay if you use a calculator for that, but I want you to try to use your brain as much as possible to practice those simple math concepts. The reason it's really important that you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide is if you didn't know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide, would you understand where that 10n came from? You see what I'm saying? If you didn't know 5 times 2, you're not going to know where that 10n came from. If you don't understand that the 4 times the 4 is a 16, you're going to be confused on every step. So it's really important that you have your basic math facts down really well. Okay, so let's break this down. I'm going to put, what are our like terms inside the parentheses?
4.
Almost.
8.
What has the same variable to the same power?
8.
8n and?
8n.
Exactly. So this negative 3 is just going to be chilling. The 4n squared is coming down. Daniel Reyes, what is 8n plus 8n?
18n.
Thank you. Daniel V, what's it called when I have a number in front of the parentheses? What do I need to do?
Distribute.
Good. Daniel, can you help me with negative 3 times 4n squared?
Negative 14.
Negative 12n squared. Good. Francisco, negative 3 times 16n. Do you know what negative 3 times 16 is? Negative 48.
Negative 48.
Negative 48 what?
Negative 10. Oh, n.
Cool. Maurice, negative 3 times 16. Give you a hint. We just did negative 3 times 16n and we got negative 48.
Oh, 48.
Almost.
Positive 48.
Negative. Amarian, do we have any like terms that can go together? Are there any other n squareds? So we're going to bring this guy down. Amarian, are there any other groups that have an n?
Yeah, 48.
48n and what other group?
And 10.
Okay. Anybody? Negative 48n, positive 10. Are we adding or subtracting? Subtracting. Positive or negative?
Negative 38.
Negative 38 what?
10.
Good. What else goes together? What are my like terms?
Oh,
What does it make?
negative 20.
Negative 28. Really good job. If you were able to understand this one, you are in good shape. When you're ready, we're going to go to the last page. Go ahead and flip. We're going to change this one to fog as well because I want to do more practice with those exponents. So notice there's not going to be anything in front. Notice that there's no variable on this side right now. Alejandro, what are we going to do next? Reyes, get your head off my desk. Thank you. Alejandro, you don't know? Reyes, can you help him out? You don't know? Okay, guys, what's the second letter? F was our first letter. What's my second letter? G. So what are we going to plug in?
4x.
4x plus 5 is going to go right here. Alejandro and Daniel, one of you tell me what we do with that squared. Good job. David, can you help me with the first part? 4x times 4x, what does that make? 16 what? Almost. If I have x times x, it makes what? Yeah, squared. Uriel, 4x times 5, what does that make? 20 what? Ovid, 5 times 4x. It's going to be 20. 20 what? C. Perfect. Freddie, 5 times 5?
24?
Yeah, sorry, I wrote it down. I just went. Sometimes my brain forgets to pause. You guys ever have that moment? Diego, help me bring it down. Put my like terms together. Let's go.
I'm not even there.
What? You need me to pause for a minute?
Which one are
You can use someone else.
48.
Why is the x squared?
Because it's 4x times 4x. So you've got
What's this?
4x times 4x. So it's like 4 times 4 and x times x. So 16 and then x squared. That making sense? Okay, so I'm hearing everybody say bring the 16x squared down. Yes, sir. I'm just trying to get Diego to, I don't know if Diego understands, so I'm concerned. Diego, do you know what goes together? Diego, do you know what goes together? What can go together? Give me numbers, babe.
48.
Okay, that's going to make 40x. Good. Maureen, what's left? What do I got to still put together? What is that going to make? 21. Good job, y'all. Okay, draw you a line. We're going to do a very quick review. We're going to do 2-question review. Give me any numbers smaller than 12.
So, you write that?
Yep. Any number?
3.
Okay.
Did you make put the negative on the outside or the
I did. I meant all of this. What does 2 negatives make? Let's start with, do you guys know where to start when you see a question like this? Come in. Inside the parentheses. So it's going to be 9 and then 2 negatives make a, what's 9 plus 3?
That's a number.
Okay, do I need those parentheses anymore?
Probably 9.
Nah, because there's no power and there's not a number in front. So I've got negative 6 take away 12. What's that make? Negative. Add them, because they're both negative. 18. You're going to have a couple questions like this on it today. Just PEMDAS. You're also going to have a couple questions like this. Yeah?
Still doing your assignment?
Yes, of course. Give me any number besides 2. And you're going to have to do this with it. So, 3. I'm going to go negative 3. Okay? Pick another number. What? 5. I'm going to go negative 1. How do you feel about that? How do you do this question? Just plug it in. So it's going to be, don't forget this negative right here. That's where that negative came from. This negative's from right there.
Is that a C?
Yep. So I've got a negative, negative. What do 2 negatives make? So that's going to be a 3 plus 2. What's 2 negatives make? Make sure you write down that plus sign because these are not multiplied. What's 5 plus 1? Good.
6.
What's 6 times 2?
12.
Plus 3.
15.
Good job. I expect your work. I'm going to zoom out. This needs to get glued in right here on page 6. I will. Just let me finish this for the video for the online kids and I'll go back. Okay, this needs to go on page 6. On page 7, I need you to title the exact same thing. So it's going to be review. Review of composition of functions. It's going to be page 7. I want to see the questions written out from CUDA with all the work. So it could be like -3 minus -3 squared. I want to see the original question. I want to see all the steps. Okay, I'm going to push stop on the video and I'll go back for y'all.